And then I'm going to share my screen. And feel free to scan the attendance. Oops, let me reload this. Please scan the attendance so you can get counted. And once we're done with that, we can get started. Just give me a thumbs up once you guys are good with scanning the attendance. Awesome. Okay, great. And we can always go back later if we need to. So our woman of the week is Caroline Cunningham. Interestingly enough, I kind of had a hard time finding a woman assistant director just because a lot of assistant directors are men. And I was kind of like looking through credits of different movies and stuff like that. And one where it's been like an assistant director who's made headway or has worked on a lot of cool movies. So she's someone that I actually found. She's an Australian producer and assistant director and has actually collaborated with Peter Jackson. So most of the movies that Peter Jackson has directed, she's AD'd for, which is pretty cool that she has that gig and kind of has that neat connection with him. And she's worked on a lot of fantasy films such as King Kong, District 9, The Hobbit, The Lovely Bones, a lot more in like the epic fantasy world is where she's known. She hasn't really won any awards, at least from the research I was doing for assistant directing specifically, but she's definitely made herself well known, has been there for Peter Jackson most of the time, and that's most of the films that she's worked on. But just someone I wanted to bring up and share with you guys and just have her on our radar.
So getting into like the AD stuff. So what is an AD? We're going to be focusing for this meeting on just the first assistant director. There's also a second assistant director that does a separate, like, has separate tasks. But I've, like, most Emerson's sets just hire first AD, especially now because of COVID. You don't want that many extra people. But they essentially run the sets. They're in charge of the safety of the crew, timekeeping the sets, making sure that everybody wraps on time, and creating the schedule. So they are essentially like the person in charge on set. On professional sets, the first AD communicates between the director and the rest of the crew. So they will talk to all the different department heads during setup just to make sure that like everyone's good on time, seeing how much longer they'll need to set up. They also work really closely with the director of photography because some directors prefer just to focus on actors and let the DP be in charge of visuals. So they also have to work closely with them just as close as they are with the director to make sure that like we're not adding in like 10 different shots and like if we're going ahead looking to see what shots you can cut and all that stuff. So they're just in charge of the logistics on set. And then, like I said, also safety and discipline. If you're shooting in a forest and there is a big rock pointing out and the character has to run towards it, you make sure that they know that that rock is there. And if you can avoid it, you switch locations. So they're just in charge of making sure everything is all good on set.
Yeah, and the way I've always viewed the AD against like the producer, because they're very similar roles on student sets a lot of the time, where they're both very highly focused on the like logistics side of the set. The AD is the one who's working on like that day and day by day stuff, working on making sure that that like functions properly. The producer is the long-term person who's looking at locations and making sure that like everything logistically is happening like behind the scenes, while the AD is the one who's upfront and talking with the crew the entire time, if that makes sense.
Also, in the world of COVID, the AD is a lot of times one in charge of COVID safety and making the COVID safety plan, especially at Emerson. I know for sets that I've hired for and ones that I've worked as ADs on, like you are a lot of times in charge of COVID, or the producer is, but especially like on set, as Julie was saying, you're that person for that day to make sure you're doing safety and stuff like that, and that includes COVID as well.
Yeah. So some of the AD responsibilities, two of the biggest ones that we're going to be talking about today are creating the call sheets for each set day and the production schedules for each set day. So call sheets are it has all the information for the set. So it has the date, the call times for each cast and crew, what cast and crew are going to be there, what scenes you're shooting, what are those scenes, when is wrap time, when's lunch, what's the weather, the nearest hospital. And we'll look at that so you don't have to just like remember everything that I'm spewing at you right now. But they're in charge of making all of those a separate one for each day on set. And then the production schedules are also called shooting schedules. The AD essentially looks at the shot list that the director and the cinematographer created, and they put the shots in order of the way that they think will be the most time efficient to shoot it. So the way that I usually do it is obviously like you keep scenes together if you can. But like lens changes, I try to keep like different like same lens shots in order. With COVID, one of the best ways to like organize it is like by what cast has to be in the shot. So if you have like an insert that doesn't need any of the cast, you put that towards the end of the day, because worst case scenario, director and cinematographer can stay after everybody sleep to get that. They also, the AD should also have a good knowledge of all set functions and all departments on set. You don't have to be a genius in everyone, but if you go to lighting and expect them to set up 3 different lights with gels on it in 10 minutes, that's not realistic. So you should have a good idea of how long each department takes and what they have to do. ADs also, this goes along with like the safety and logistics side of it that we talked about. They have to make those like high stakes decisions while on set and try to do it kind of under the radar so that nobody's like stressed out, because I like to say that the AD like takes on the stress for all of the crew so that everybody else can focus on being creative. So like having the ability to cut shots, or like if you're like an hour behind on time, sorry, bad at talking, subtly go to the director and be like, you need to like speed up the pace without stressing everybody else on set. And then for professional sets, they're also in charge of like wrangling, for lack of a better term, the extras and background actors and making sure that everybody's in the place that they need to be. That doesn't really apply so much on Emerson sets just because of the scale of them, especially during COVID. But that is something good to know.
And I think one of the main points that Cassie brought up is like, you're taking on the stress if you're sometimes the only one who knows if you're an hour behind. And you probably shouldn't be yelling that out to the entire cast and crew. Like, don't let everyone know you're an hour behind. Sometimes, like, ADs really don't even tell their director all the time how far behind they are, because that can just stress people out and take them out of their creative mindset. So you're the one to phrase it in a right way, or let your director know that you need to speed up and be like, we're doing good, but we need to go faster. Don't be like, we're an hour behind, we're never going to make it, that sort of thing. And I know, like, I was ADing, I wasn't hired as AD, I was actually executive producing, but our AD didn't show up. And this was like the first time I'd AD'd, and it was like a terrible experience, but also an amazing experience. But I was like, I can't tell them how far behind we are. Like, it's too far behind. Luckily, we made it out on time, but it's like very interesting to realize that you're the one who's taking on that responsibility to keep everyone on track, but don't tell them like how far behind you are, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Julie, do you want to take this up?
Yeah, for sure. So another really important responsibility of the AD is a thing called calling the roll. I just say like it's how to communicate in the efficient way possible with the entire crew about like what's happening on set, making sure everyone's where they're supposed to be. So like everyone's heard like the quiet on set. That's the AD yelling at all the crew, or not yelling at the crew, but like yelling to the crew through the entire area, making sure no one's making any sound, walking around, no one's like walking and creating like footsteps in the background, because the sound recorders will pick that up. So they're making sure the crew knows like when pictures going up, what they're waiting on, who they're looking for. Last looks is usually the call to like the art team to be like, okay, look around, make sure everything's set up. There's no Game of Thrones water bottle in the shot, that kind of stuff. That's the AD calling to the crew and asking them to like make sure that nothing like that's going wrong. The most important thing usually, and that you'll see on every set, is the AD saying, like, cueing each of the productions when the camera is about to go up. So they'll say, like, sound speed, the sound recordist will respond and say, yep, we're recording, we're speeding. They'll say roll camera, the camera operator or whoever is holding the camera and making sure that it's recording will then confirm that they're recording. Then the AD will cue the marker person who will do the slate and make sure that you capture that on the camera, and then they can call action. But this call and response is really important because if that doesn't happen, you might shoot an entire scene and then realize the sound was never actually recording or something like that. And that will ruin the shot or at least make the entire set go a lot longer. So this call and response is absolutely necessary. The rest of this, like, you can kind of fudge it and have different language, but this specific call and response has to happen on set. And then back to one is like, we're doing it again. Everyone return to their first like marks to the actors, or like reset lighting if you have to, or reset grip if you have to. And then next setup or moving on is when you're just going on, you're done with the shot, you can go to a next setup, move your camera, move your lights, move your actors, whatever needs to happen with that. But the AD is always just telling the crew what's up, basically, what the director is thinking, what has to happen next. So, yeah.
I will say, just for Emerson set purposes, a lot of the times on Emerson sets, you'll hear the director do the what Julie was talking about, the like call and response for like sound, speeding, camera, rolling, slate, or marker. So it's not always the AD. But yeah, just like keep that in mind, because Emerson sets function so differently from real world sets, or not so differently, but like it's these little nuances. So as an AD, you probably won't be calling, because I know a lot of directors like to have that like sound of mind that like they can like direct everything before it goes up. But yeah, this is all really good to know. So here are some examples of the types of production sheets that an AD would have to fill out. So the two QR codes are templates for both like call sheet and production schedule. We can come back and get those, but I want to go over what one would look like. So the Women in Motion board last semester, me, Emily Cerruti, Emily Hogan, and Kat, we did a film called East of Everything, and this is the shooting sketch, or this is the call sheet for the first day. So you can see like in the corner, we have location, Cafe Nero, and then we filmed in the Commons. Little pink box below that is AD notes. So if the AD is meeting your crew to travel like in front of one of the dorms, that's where you would put that. For me, like we just put like both are public locations that cannot be like disturbed. So everybody had to be like on their best behavior. And this isn't the only type of call sheet you'll see. Like there are a lot of like little things that change. Like sometimes the producer, director, and AD will be listed below the title, but it really like doesn't matter as long as all that information is on there. And then if you look towards the right side of the screen, you can see like meals. We're having on-campus meals because we were filming like around campus, so it was easy. We didn't have to buy crafty. Sunrise and sunset is just a good thing to keep in mind if like you have to get both day scenes and night scenes. You know, you can't shoot the day scenes after sunset because the sun will be down. Whether it's good to let people know how to dress, and then the nearest hospital, that's just for safety reasons. So everybody knows like if something happens on set, like we're near someplace, just to get that like sound in mind. Going down, this will be where you list all of your scenes, and they don't have to be in order of like when they appear in the script. They're usually in order of the shooting schedule for that day. So we just happen to like shoot it in order. So you have the scene number and then what happens in the scene in just a one sentence like description. And then below that, you can see that each character and cast has their own little number. So then you would put that to see which character is in the scenes, if it's day or night, and then what pages of the script it's on so that the actors can have those ready, or the script soup can have those ready. Location notes, pretty self-explanatory. And then at the bottom, you have all of your crew listed. You don't need the phone numbers for everybody, but it is good to have just in case somebody overslept and you need to call them. Like you can look at the call sheet and have their number right there. And then the in and out times are just their call times, like when they start working on set, and then the time that you are planning to wrap. So in the template, I don't have obviously like all the sections filled up, but you do have like the header so you can see that. Like I have like location 80 notes and everything, so that'll be easy to see. And then the shooting schedule is a little bit more annoying to make, but I love doing shooting schedules. They're my favorite thing to do as an AD. So this is our shooting schedule for the same shoot. As you can see, like you have the like row cut that tells you like what's in there. So you have your scene, and then in the order that you're filming the shots. So we have 1D before 1A, B, and C because it just like made sense to film it that way. You have the same little scene descriptions in the bottom. Sometimes you'll have the types of shots that they are. So like medium shot, wide shot, just so like everybody knows what's kind of going on, but that's not mandatory. It's just a matter of like style. You next to where it says like Harper and Cleo, because those are our characters, you have the amount of time that you gave for setup. So it's like lighting setup, camera setup, building the camera, and all that stuff. The next set is when you want to go up for your first shot by. So we wanted to have 1D, like we wanted to be calling the camera to roll by 11:30. And then the amount of time that you have listed for each scene. Something good to note for this when you're making a shooting schedule is always put a little bit of padding in there. So if you think a shot's going to take 10 minutes, put 15 or 20 minutes. And I like to do like 5-minute intervals. You don't have to. I just think it like looks better, it makes more sense. But always allot for more time than you think you're going to need, because the two possibilities are you run over, but you've already allotted for that time, so you still wrap it when you said you're going to wrap, or it takes the amount of time that you think, there's no problems, and you wrap early and everybody's happy. So that's something that I like to do for sure. And then it's really just guesswork, having like prior experiences on set and seeing how long like it takes for lighting to set up and camera to build, and then like how long a tracking shot had taken to film. It's like prior knowledge. You just kind of have to guess how long those would take to film. But yeah, then you have like your lunch breaks and then your wrap and everything. And I put a template for this too, so you can see this, because I know like I'm talking a lot and I'm spewing a lot, so it may not all be like retaining right now, but yeah.
I also wanted to share one other thing. Obviously, this is like a shooting schedule that not, especially if you have a larger set, it's not always the one that you'll share with everyone. This usually goes to like your DP, director, gaffer, most of your keys. There is like another thing that's like a production schedule that will go out to everyone that's less detailed as this. Julia, do you want to say something before then? But I kind of want to show, I have another production schedule that's like smaller than this and like more of something. But Julia, if you have something to say, go for it.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to talk a little bit more about like choosing the order of this, because it does seem like guesswork sometimes, but if you understand how a set works, it can be kind of like a logical progression of stuff. So you almost always want to start with like the wide establishing master shot first, because you know if you get that done, you'll at least have a scene of something, you'll have something shot. So you start with that almost always, unless the director doesn't want to have a master shot, which you should really push against, even as an assistant director, because you need a master shot. Sorry, if I need to explain, master shot is like the shot that captures everything in the scene for the entirety of the scene. That's the first shot, and that should be the first shot of the day, unless with like extenuating circumstances. Then as you order up the production schedule, you should think about how much time it takes for the lights to set up, because that's sometimes the hardest thing to like get together and bring together. So like if you're shooting master shot first, then you go to one setup on this side where it's all the light is focused on this one actor. You should try and shoot everything on that actor first, and then switch to the other side to get the other actor, because the lights will be the thing that takes the most time to set up. So that's how I usually approach a production schedule like this. That's all I had to say. Emily, you go. Oh, you're muted.
I'm going to switch my share real quick. No worries. So this is what I made for On Instinct, which is the one that I had to quickly AD for. But this was something that I sent out to the entire cast and crew just so they had an idea, especially for like our actors. That was kind of the main reason, so they know when they're going to be needed. Obviously, we don't have every single shot in here like the other one was, where it said like, 1D, 1A. This is more of like this is the scene we're going to be doing. These are our cast that is going to be needed. And then down here is sort of like the little key for what it means. And then pages is a very common thing, so people know how long it's going to be. This was an insane day. We did 7 2/8 pages in 6 hours. Insane. I don't know how we did it, but we did do it. But it's like letting people know that this is going to be like a grind of a day or something like that. Also for lighting, so they know like blue was nighttime, yellow was daytime, so they know that there's going to be a lighting change at a certain point. Things like that. Also has the same sunrise sunset sort of thing, but obviously like you don't always want to overwhelm certain part of your career cast with a production schedule or a shooting schedule that has every single thing on it, especially if that may change or is malleable. Obviously this production schedule can also change, but this is a little bit more set in stone of like, this is the order we're going to know. Also really helpful for PD, so they know exactly what outfit they need to tell their actors to be in. They know what costume and makeup they're going to have to be prepared to help their actors with. If you have any sort of like prosthetics or something like that, knowing when that's going to be needed, when that's going to be applied, just something like that. It's a little bit more concise and not overwhelming, but also gives people an idea of when things are going to go up and when we're going to wrap. That was just my little note there.
For sure, that's super good to know. Yeah. I personally have never made one of those actually before. So we all learn something new every day. Yeah, but if you guys want to scan the QR codes, the links are just like to the stuff that we showed you. But if you want to scan the QR codes, those are the templates for each of the things that I use. Again, you can find many others online. And then we can come back to this at the end if you guys want. So extra things to make yourself stand out. These aren't like officially a part of the AD role, but this is stuff that I do on set that like has gotten me a good rapport with the people that I work with. So anticipate bringing stuff that you think you're gonna need. So I always have a clipboard and like everything printed out like for myself just because I like make notes and everything. And showing that like to every DP and director I've worked with has been such a good help because I can like circle different type of things and like make a key and they can see that visually. I always bring my multi-tool even if I'm not working in any type of like grip, lighting, camera department. I always bring it just because people are gonna have multi-tools, but they're not always gonna be on hand. So if you always have yours, like that's good. Expo markers for the slate. Somehow every set I have been on has needed an expo marker. We just don't get them from the EDC or EIV or anything. So having expo markers is such a good help. And then just like extra Sharpies and pens and everything for everybody. Like you're not really supposed to print out stuff during COVID times just because they don't want papers passing around. But like if each like team has their own piece of paper, having like Sharpies and pens to give people like, because not everybody thinks to bring those. I also bring small snacks and everything for people just because sometimes like before the break, like people like won't have time to eat breakfast before they come to set and then we won't have lunch until like 4 hours in. And like when you're working with like a crew and like a tinier space, like you can get really overwhelmed. So just the last set I was on, our DP got a little lightheaded and her blood sugar dropped. So like I had a Pop-Tart in my bag to give her so that she could like get her sugar back up. So it's just like anticipating that. PPE and hand sanitizer and anything like COVID related. Like the AD usually is going to be the COVID captain on set. That's how it usually works. They don't have to be, but that just makes the most sense. So you should have hand sanitizer stations around your set, obviously, but having just like a little thing of pocket hand sanitizer for like after every like different scene before we go set up, like just like going around and offering it to people, it makes the biggest difference. Like it's so appreciated. And then be aware of the mood of the set. So you may have heard like that the AD like has to be super like mean and like yell at people and like get everybody like on track, but you only really have to be the bad guy when you need to, and everybody has their own AD style. So you're not going to know yours until you actually get in and see like what works for like the director you're dealing with and everything. But something is always going to go wrong on set. It's just inevitable. Like when you have something this big that so many people are working on, like there's going to be a little bit of hiccups. So if you're like outwardly stressed, and Emily like touched on this earlier, like if you're outwardly stressed, everybody's going to be stressed. And if you're annoyed, everybody's going to be annoyed. So just try and keep it like positive. And then when you're like having lunch and everything, where like you don't have to be like thinking about everything all the time, sit down and like have a normal conversation with the cast and crew and be able to like laugh and be sociable and everything. Don't just be like the big mean guy like in the corner of the set like watching everybody to make sure that they eat in exactly 30 minutes. Like it's okay to like be sociable and be like nice to people at the same time. Yeah, that's all I
Yeah,
have to say.
yeah, absolutely, Cassie, you're absolutely right. It's so easy to like be sucked in and become like a taskmaster almost, where like you're like behind people being like, go do this thing now, and you have to do that, but you have to also have like a repertoire with people and be able to see that and be like nice about it, or at least like professional in a sense where they understand that like you're doing your job, this is very important, and like you have to ask them to do this well. Just because if they don't, then the whole set will collapse. Like people will look to you as a leader, and you have to be able to like shoulder that and also make sure that no one feels left out or like that you are like not respecting them, because respect is a huge part of being an ID and being like a diplomat as well. Because if there is an argument on set, you're the one who has to step in and be like, hey guys, calm down, what's wrong, like here's the thing, because the director can't like deal with that. Sometimes producers like can't be dealing with that. You're the one who's like making sure that the set runs, and that includes interpersonal relationships.
Yeah, for sure. And like an example of like how to be like start into your job but still be like approachable to the crew is like if like you need setup to be done in 10 minutes, like you go up to lighting and be like, how are you guys doing on time? And they'll be like, good. And you'll be like, do you think you can go up in 10 minutes? And if you approach it like that, instead of being like, you need to get this done in 10 minutes, like, I don't know, you can have that style and it does work for people and they like won't hold anything against you because everybody knows that the AD like has to be really strict on time. It's my personality and style to like try to make it as like friendly and lighthearted as possible. And then I only get mean when people don't listen or if we're 3 hours behind.
And I think it's also important to point out too that there is a gender divide and a gender gap of like how people expect you to act as an AD if you're a man versus if you're a woman. Because a man, like they can be an asshole on set. Sorry, I mean like they can be terrible on set, and people will be like, oh, they're just very passionate or very driven and very confident, and like they obviously know what they're doing. But as women, we get questioned a lot more and with a lot smaller things a lot of the times. We really have to like both know our stuff, like understand our crew and respect our crew, but make sure we don't take any shit from our crew either. Sorry, I'm swearing a lot, but like I have a lot of opinions. Like
No, yeah. Sorry.
No, go for it.
And that's something that like we like, do acknowledge in this club that like Emerson we're filled with film bros and everything. But I was an AD last minute on a BFA like a couple of weeks ago, and the DP was like very, very like misogynistic comments, did not want to listen to a female AD. But I figured out how to approach him in a way where we could like have a banter back and forth, but he would eventually listen to me. And I've gotten messages from him since then being like, oh, you're the best AD I've ever worked with. So it's just a matter of like knowing how to handle that situation professionally. And it sucks that like that's something that we have to deal with. But like don't let that scare you from trying to become an AD, because it does, like it's a fun job. If you're good, if you rise under pressure, this is best job in the world on set. I adore being an AD.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And I think my last little bit of like advice of what to do if you do like recognize that there is some problem that is like based on gender or based on like them not taking you seriously, I've always found success in taking them kind of separating them from like the larger group, talking to them one-on-one and saying exactly what's on mind. Like I've had to take a DP off to the side and be like, hey, you need to listen to me. I don't feel like you're listening to my, like respecting me or respecting the set. And right now you're holding us back. Please stop. Like you have to say that directly sometimes, because sometimes it just like doesn't register for some people. Yeah. But just maintain the respect It'll be great.
You're like everyone's friend on set, but everyone's enemy at the same time.
Exactly.
And you want to be that friend. You want to turn to every single person on set and be like, are you doing okay? Do you need anything? I'm here for you. But then when things need to get rolling, turning them and being like, hey, I also need you to kick it into gear. Let's be ready in 2 minutes. So it's like walking that fine line that both Cassie and Julia are talking about of like trying to be really friendly and not being the quote unquote bitch that people call women who act too passionate on set, but also kicking into that gear when you need to get your crew moving, because without you, it probably wouldn't get done, to be honest. Without an AD, set wouldn't function. So you need to rise to that role. And yes, it's scary, and yes, it's hard, but once people start to respect you, which they should right off the bat, there's not like, they're not gonna like guess or like not believe your authority. But if you do have someone questioning that, be like, I'm here, I'm passionate about this role, I'm filling this role for a reason, and I want to work with you and collaborate you and be your friend on set to make this production happen.
Yeah,
it has to happen. Like there's no other answer.
Sometimes you just gotta get like a kill 'em with kindness approach. That's what I do, because I'm so bad at confrontation. I cannot like look at people and like be stern with them, like when it's like a personal thing. I'll just like get teared up and choke up and everything. I'm so bad with confrontation. But I'm very much like, I'm gonna be nice to you and not give you a single reason to doubt my ability to do this job. And that's the best way to prove them wrong. So for the activity, it's gonna be it depends if you're like into this or not, but it's gonna be one of our less like fun ones, but I think it's really fun. So we're gonna split you into breakout rooms, and you guys are going to make a call sheet for your group with an imaginary set. It can take, the scenes can be anything you want. It can take place anywhere you want. But just take, let's do 15 minutes.
I'm gonna go back to the slide where we had the call sheet, so you guys can all scan that now, please. Because obviously it's weird when you get in breakout rooms, the chat doesn't always work for us. So if we're gonna put something in the chat, it tends to disappear. So if everyone could scan this now so you have it ready for when we're gonna do this activity, that would be great. If you need it afterwards, just like chat us and I can send it to you again, but scan it now.
Go wild with this. Film in Italy if you want, but like do the research of like what's the closest hospital to like this place that you want to film, and like what is everybody's like in your group, like their like positions on set and their phone numbers, like just like to get you used to like filling out this form, because it can be intimidating at first.
And the way you can be editing this, you'll like see this on, like once you scan it, you'll see this and then make a copy of it. Then you can have ownership of it and change all the call sheets right now. Because right now you're only in view only on this sheet, if that makes sense to everyone. Cool.
Awesome.
I will put you in breakout rooms, have lots of fun, and we'll call you back in, what'd you say, Cassie, like 10 minutes?
Yeah, 10 to 15. We'll check in and see how long you guys need.
Sounds good. Have fun.
Emily, should I join a breakout room?
I feel like you should, just in case, like if someone's if someone's confused. Recording again. Do you want people to like share their call sheets?
We can do what we did for the producer meeting.
Okay, cool. You guys did good. Was that fun? Got your AD brains on, ready to AD a project now?
Well, so we'll just wait.
Drop your call sheet if you want to take a screenshot, or you can download it and drop it in the chat. You can direct message me if you want. We just want to, like we did last time, just show it to everyone, show your amazing work.
And if you guys want to like present it too, we can like give you screen sharing abilities.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I'll just do that instead because I know the groups.
Cool. So is anyone dying to show us their call sheet? Does anyone want to go first?
I can just call. I'll start with room 1, which is Gina, Nika, and Olivia. I made screen share available to you guys, so if you want to just share your screen and talk us through your call sheet real quick, please go for it.
Okay, I guess we kind of didn't like do that much on the scene wise, but like okay. Let me,
Try to make a call sheet in 10 minutes. Don't worry.
can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Awesome.
So we said we wanted to do a cold day in Italy because we
Ooh.
really want to shoot there because it's pretty. And so for location, we want to do Lake Como, Italy. And then I was going to be director. And then Gina and Olivia were going to do both producers. And we just kind of picked a random date. And the first call would be 11:30. And so for the food and stuff, we just looked up a random place there.
I love that.
And it looked good, so we went with that. And then we like just assumed it would be cold, so we did that weather. And we kind of did sunrise sunset based on like heat, what it is like right now.
Yeah.
And then we looked up the nearest hospital, which was Bellona Hospital there. And yeah, and then we were getting our characters, and so far we just did 2 so far, Joe and Iggy. I don't know, it was random, we just went with that. And we were gonna like kind of shoot in the lake, and so far we're like Joe's gonna go into the lake, and then we didn't really get that far, but we also added our positions and our numbers and all that jazz. So yeah.
Super good.
I love that. You definitely would have to make sure if Joe's going into the lake, that's a lot of safety.
Yeah, we would have to, use stuff.
Man's on the phone.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. That looked great. Definitely a great start. For room 2, we have Emily, Julia Kerr, and Zhu Yang.
Okay, we didn't make a call sheet, but we have a good reason for not to. We got really distracted. So
Explain what you got distracted with, please.
we were just talking about like the responsibilities of AD work and like working on sets, and we sort of talk about other sets we've been working on and like the stresses of that, and we just got good conversation, just networking. It's important.
I love it. Any good takeaways that would like to be shared with the rest of the group?
That we're all insanely busy and we need social lives. I don't know. That's just for me. I'm not you guys, for me.
Fill out the spring break form. That's all I'm saying.
True. Yeah, everyone signed that.
Amazing. Okay, I love it. That's what we love to hear. Moving on to room 3, we have Dylan, Jenna, and Lindsay.
Okay, we are shooting in the Grand Canyon.
Ooh.
We're shooting today, 5 p.m. Actually, it's kind of like a true crime sort of situation because we found this news story that a body was discovered in the Grand Canyon, but 17 hours ago. So our story is about this couple who finds the dead body and then they rappel down to the dead body. We struggled to find a hospital near the Grand Canyon, so Dylan found an urgent care, so that's our nearest hospital. And then one of the reviews of the Grand Canyon was this guy said he had really great beef stew, so we thought that was what we'd feed our cast and crew.
Beautiful.
And we're doing a night shoot. We're going 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. It's long nights, but
Love a night shoot.
we've got to commit, man. Yeah, that's it. We didn't finish it, but
I love it. I like the change of color that you got going on here.
yeah, we wanted to go for something a little like fun, a little, like sunshine, like happy days.
I love it. Awesome. That looks great.
That's actually a good thing to note that I forgot to say. for the templates, you don't have to keep them the pink. We kept them the pink because that was the colors of East of Everything. If you want to like really stand out, the colors don't matter, but I love colors. We know this from the spreadsheet workshop. If you're like, so, okay, I'm producing a show called 413 and our colors are black and green. So for like the shooting schedules and everything, or not the shooting schedules, the budgets and everything that I made everything green, like that, like aesthetic. So if you want to do that, that's like a fun little excitement to do for a shooting schedule. But not mandatory by any means, it's just something I like to do.
Awesome. Room 4, we have Alexa, Jillian, and Kat.
Kat, do you? Oh, okay.
We were technologically challenged and it wouldn't load on my computer. So I used the Zoom annotation feature for this, so just mind the lack of aesthetically pleasing text. We also focused a lot more on the story here. So our title is Ancient. We're shooting at the Colosseum in Rome. And our notes are to historical sites. So you have to be respectful because you're around ruins. And so we also had our scenes was that we had these two characters we did cast. We have Margot Robbie playing Aurora and Regé-Jean Page playing Maximus. It takes place in ancient Rome. And in our first scene, she's watching Maximus fight to the death. It's at the midpoint of our script, so it's 60, 65 in pages. And then our next scene is when Aurora decides to take his place. And that was right after the midpoint. And so we didn't get super far. And then we just started working on this box here. Oh yeah, we're also shooting in June of 2022 because of COVID at 7 a.m. So it's a historical site. So we want to get there early so that we don't disturb too much with the tourist aspect of the site. And our nearest hospital is the Rome America Hospital. We thought they would be friendly to Americans and probably speak the language, so it's a good place to be.
Awesome. I love that. That sounds, can I join? Can I be hired for your crew? Awesome. Okay. We are going to move on and go to room 5, which was Ellie and Julia.
Sorry, I just had to load that up.
No worries.
But we did ours for a scene in Booksmart because we just wanted to do a scene that already existed. And so we did this scene on the hill where, if you've seen Booksmart, it's where Molly and Amy decide that they want to go to Nick's party. So it's the, in the trailer, it's the scene where there's like breaking the rules and stuff like that. So yeah, we went and did research on the film and found like who the actual producers are over here and like the director. We just chose today as the date. And then for pizza, it was just one scene that we were filming, so we figured like probably only one meal is necessary, especially if we start at like 3 p.m. We just got pizza we're gonna order in pizza for our cast and crew, cheese, pepperoni, and gluten-free as an option, just in case anyone's gluten-free. We checked the weather for the scene. It was cloudy, but there was no rain. And then I just kind of picked a place in LA to film. I just randomly clicked it. And this was the nearest hospital to the place I randomly clicked. So that's where we're filming.
Interesting.
I love that. That's great. Thanks for doing the extra research about who is the producers and the directors and the cast. I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. So then our last room, we're going to speed through this really fast because we're getting a little tight on time. Room 6, we have Lily, Riley, and Trey.
Ooh, Iceland.
Riley, you're muted.
That's embarrassing. Anyways,
I thought I was like going all in. Anyways, this is the last winter. It's shooting in Reykjavik, Iceland, which is the capital city of Iceland. Me and Trey are the producers, and Miss Lily is the director. Our call time is at 6 a.m., which is before the sun sets at 8 in the morning. And we have our two characters, Veronica and Liam, and their call times are at 8, so we can start filming like as the sun rises.
I love that.
And we have the nearest hospital, 44 degrees, 80% chance of rain, so it's gonna get a little wet, so get ready.
Love
Yeah.
that.
I like that you're on top of a volcano. That sounds fun.
Yes. I forgot to put in the notes, don't fall in the volcano. Please.
Okay, all good. I like that you thought to have the cast called after crew set up, because that's how like sets work. That was smart. I like that. Cool. Event promotion?
What? Go ahead, Cassie.
No, just doing the event promotions now.
Yes. So event promotion, WIFVNE. It's not as easy to say as WIM for Women in Motion, but same idea. Women in Film and Video New England. Alessia, who was our guest speaker for the outside producer meeting, is part and actually president of this amazing organization. They are giving us a special $5 discount for a membership. Using the code Emerson. If you want to scan the QR code here, you can get a membership. It's a really great way to be networked with a lot of women in the industry, a lot of just people in general in the industry. You also get access to a lot of their events, which is the other QR code.
Just the next thing, I'm doing a crew call this weekend for Foxglove, the film I am producing with a couple friends. We got picked up by Women in Motion, and I'm super excited for this. Basically, all you need to know about this thing is it's lesbians during the Salem witch trials. Like, come join our crew. Yeah, we're looking for basically full crew. Use that QR code to sign up for a time slot to interview. And if you want, feel free to contact me for more questions about the actual show.
Awesome. If you want to go to the next slide, we have the train home once again. They're specifically asking anyone who's interested in acting or wants to come out to casting, please go to their Instagram, check out some of their slides of different characters that they're casting. Aria is the main one, but there's a lot more. They're like, we are having a hard time finding people who want to act for us, which is always a problem. So if you have anyone you know, if you yourself are really interested in it, I would totally recommend going out for this, as they're really pushing for a female POC cast, which is super cool. I really like this, to be honest. This is one of my favorite short film projects that we have going on this semester, and Emily and Henna are really amazing people to work with, have an amazing idea. So I would recommend either promoting this to people that you know who like to do acting, or going out yourself. And then last one, we just greenlighted a new short film, Greenware. It's a short dramatic film surrounding a young painter. The main person doing it is Bridget. She's looking for a logistics producer, as she's the only one working on the project right now and really needs help with sort of like the permits and safety and locations and getting everything finalized. So if you're really interested in producing and want to be sort of like ahead on a project, this would be a great project for you. Please email your resume, and she will set up a time to interview with you. And then if she likes you, you'll definitely be on this project right away, as it just got started, and will be something that will be going on this semester. So that's all of our event promotions. Thank you so much for coming. Here's the attendance if you need it. But otherwise, you guys are all free to go. It was great to see you all, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
You have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
I just have a quick question, actually.
Yeah.
Where do we send in our scripts for the writers like challenge? Do we just email it to Women in Motion?
Just email it and I'll upload it to our drive.
All right, cool. Thank you.